bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paschachade Shatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchatattvatkam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sadhodito Godadaye Pushpavanto Tito Dhamo Shamonato Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavrindam. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining us today, and maybe a few other devotees will come over the next period of an hour or so. What time is Prasadam?
Whenever you finish Maradan Prasadam.
Whenever I sleep. What time is Prasadam? 11:30.
12.
Oh, 12:30. So probably by 12:30 most of us will come. Thank you for lovely kirtans. Hare Krishna Prabhu. What's your name? Harinam? My goodness. Wow. You've got a name to live up to. Das. Fortunate name. And your name is? Huh? Prajna. We met last night. We met at the temple on Tuesday, or Monday, or whenever it was. Wonderful kirtans, thank you. And everyone else for coming today. So we haven't got anything like dramatic. Actually we have something dramatic. We haven't thought of any specific topic as such. We've just opened our reader at a certain page, and I like to read from there. And this is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And as you, Harinam Sindhu, something or another. What was it? Huh? Daya Sindhu. Harinam Daya Sindhu Prabhu was singing the beautiful bhajan of Narottam Das, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Daya Koramore. I thought it's appropriate to follow that on with some Gaur Lila, Gaur Katha. So this is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. I was looking for a book, but unfortunately we don't have any Chaitanya Bhagavat here in the form of a book. So I have to read from the computer. This is from the introduction of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Now, there are different versions of Chaitanya Bhagavat. And there's one version, or one edition, which was produced some years ago. Some of you may have it. It includes the commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. This text was written, as many of you are aware, by Vrindavan Das Thakur, who was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. He compiled this Chaitanya Bhagavatam. We can see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which was compiled later on by Srila Kaviraj Goswami. The two biographies, there are other biographies, Chaitanya Mangala, Lochan Das and others also. But this Chaitanya Bhagavat is described by Kaviraj Goswami as the authorized biography of Lord Chaitanya. And he describes Vrindavan Das Thakur as the original Vyas of Chaitanya Lila. But out of humility also, Krishnadas Kaviraj is certainly Vyas of Chaitanya Lila also. And his presentation of Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered to be the jewel amongst the Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada translated Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is probably up here somewhere. It's here on the book rack. This was Srila Prabhupada's, along with Srimad Bhagavatam, you could say, literally speaking, his presentation, amongst other books of course, but primarily these two glorious presentations for the world. The world is almost ignorant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whatever background we have, wherever we come from in this day, and in previous days, previous to the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, nobody, hardly, very few, had ever heard of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hardly mentioned in the Vedas as such, not directly, indirectly indicated. So who would know of Lord Chaitanya? More Krishna in this most magnanimous, merciful form, Namo Maha Varanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Rupa Goswami addresses Lord Chaitanya in this way as the most magnanimous of all forms of Godhead. Because you are giving what no other form ever gave before. You're freely giving love of God. This is the special, not just, say, love of God in the form of reverence, or even just in the form of service, but in all the various rasas, and freely giving the opportunity, the gateway, the entrance to the topmost relationship, that of Madhurya Ras. No other form of Godhead, of course, Krishna himself is the personification or the object of that rasa. But he didn't make it available in terms of access. He certainly displayed it when he appeared as Krishna. He didn't give it to others as such. But Lord Chaitanya is giving that. So therefore Rupa Goswami describes him as the most magnanimous of all the forms of Godhead. He's freely giving what no other incarnation ever gave. And this is so rare. Here we are sitting here in Box Hill, sitting in a box, literally. Both our body is like a box, and this room is like a box. Our body is one body amongst maybe 40 bodies in this room. And this room is one, maybe a large room, but it's one room in this box house. This box house is one house in this little suburb of Box Hill, or Rouse Hill, or whatever it's called. And Box Hill, or Rouse Hill, is a very small suburb in the western suburbs of Sydney. And Sydney, of course, within Australia, putting the population aside, area-wise, is hardly a speck in the total area of Australia. And Australia is, for the whole Earth planet, okay, it's quite large compared to most countries, but it's a very small portion of the Earth's surface, very small. And the Earth is a tiny dot in the universe, and the universe is a tiny dot in the mass of universes, which is an insignificant portion of the Lord's expansive energies. So, in one sense, taking that backwards, we can understand how small we are, how tiny, how insignificant we are in time, which is eternal. Adding all that up, the chances of, you could say, of us being here and having the opportunity to hear about the most magnificent, magnanimous form of Godhead, who's giving us a chance to develop our loving relationship with Krishna in the most intimate way. We may not wish for that, but he's giving the chance to all the, what can we say, the inhabitants of this planet at this point of time. And he only appears, as most of you will know, once in a day of Lord Brahma. The day of Lord Brahma is 8,600,000 and something 40,000 years, night and day combined. So that's quite a long period of time, more than that, 8 billion, isn't it? Each yuga, 4 million times 1,000, my goodness. 8,640,000,000 years. It is inconceivable. It's inconceivable. There's no way of answering this in any logical way, except for some absolutely good fortune. There's no point trying to analyze it, how on earth or wherever we are here at this moment of time, just a few hundred years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates have been present on this planet, and they left behind through their devotees their divine instructions, their pastimes, and everything else related to them. Vrindavan Das Thakur has given us an ocean of nectar to enter into. And many different types of oceans are there in the universe. Even on this planet there are several oceans. They're all of a salty water constitution. But this ocean is of prema. Prema Sindhu is an ocean of prema that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought and still available through his pure devotees. They teach us how to enter into that ocean. We have to, if we want to understand Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to be willing to enter into the ocean. It's not a theoretical exercise. It's not some speculative exercise or something that can be realized by our own concocted process. But these pure devotees have given us the opportunity of how to enter into that great ocean. Of course, the primary practice is through Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. But many people chant the holy name of the Lord, but they have the wrong conception. Their understanding is not appropriate, or it's incorrect, incomplete, offensive even. One also has to have the right conception or understanding of what we are doing. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers have made quite clear what that is. So back to Vrindavan Das Thakur, his Chaitanya Bhagavat was originally called Chaitanya Mangala, but the name was changed to Chaitanya Bhagavat because Lochan Das Thakur also compiled a Chaitanya Mangala, so they agreed on the change of names of the two scriptures. They're considered as good as the Vedas by those who are understanding these truths. Srila Prabhupada himself desired also to translate Chaitanya Bhagavat, to present it in the English language. He didn't do it personally, but his spiritual master, of course he did it in Bengali, but that has been translated into English. So we have that available now. It comes in 6 or 7 volumes with the commentaries of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And because it's translated by a member of ISKCON, therefore the translations, the commentaries, are a little bit easier to read. Most of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's writings, unless you're familiar with Old English grammar and vocabulary and so on, can be very difficult to follow. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was highly educated in English at the time, and the usage of many of the words is no longer prevalent in the world today. They're hidden words which you can look up in the dictionary, but nobody uses them anymore. Very elevated, scholarly language, we call it, but it was normal. Just like traditionally, normally people would speak Sanskrit at certain times in the history of the world, but now it is very rare. So similarly, the usage of language. So, but anyway, it's translated in a way which is quite easy digestible. If you've read the Bhagavatam, the CC, and other books of Srila Prabhupada, etc., it's definitely a good book to enter into, giving us a deep, much deeper relationship with and understanding of Lord Chaitanya. Because without understanding Lord Chaitanya, this access to Krishna Prema and be of, at least above Aishwarya, the mood of service, reverential service, is practically unavailable in this age, or any age, come to that, but particularly at this moment of time. And that is, of course, we heard the other night, that access to that mercy which Lord Chaitanya is bringing us is not just grab and take. It's not quite like that. It's a gift, and that can only be made available through the mercy of Lord Nityananda. He's making that opportunity to enter into the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu available. So today we're going to try to hear a little bit about the beautiful descriptions of Vrindavan Das Thakur, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing, and his merciful embracing of all living entities. Of course, no one's forced, but Lord Chaitanya has made this available to all, to enter into this divine Sangha. Everybody wants to have, most people want to have bliss, they want to have something very satisfying, very natural, and we search for it everywhere we can. Lord Chaitanya is you could say, the reservoir of bliss also. His Sanktam movement is the ocean of nectar. And it's made easily available. So, with no further ado, I'll read from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Kindly lend me your ears, as Shakespeare said. Famous English, what do you call it? Actor? No, something like that. Writer. Famous English writer, Shakespeare. So lend us your ears. The secret of change is to hear. We have to hear carefully. The secret of digestion, the food has to be digestible, we have to be in health. But the secret is to chew the food, and it gets mixed with the saliva. There's a whole secret science there. The whole structure is designed in such a way, if we just swallow the food, it makes everything more digestible, less digestible, more difficult to digest. And when we chew it nicely, mixed with the saliva, the messages go down to the stomach to prepare the necessary acids for the very soon to arrive chewed food. And then everything works, and we are not aware of it, but everything's going on like this. There's this communication system within us, and the touch of the hands informs the mouth to prepare the right kind of saliva and everything to mix with it, to get ready. Everything is a purpose. That's why one of the reasons we eat with our fingers, it's much easier to digest the food. We may not be able to circumstantially, but it is actually health-wise much more healthy. And chewing the food, if anyone studies Ayurveda, you know only too well. But that chewing, just like a mother chews the food for the baby sometimes without eating it, and just to prepare it so it's soft and easily digestible for the child, it's mixed with the mother's love also. So we are hearing this now through the merciful grace of Vrindavan Das Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj and other devotees who made this available to us. There are other translations without commentary. They're also sublime. Several devotees have done that. Purna Pragya has one translation, Sarva Bhavana has another. So whatever, there are different ways in hearing this, but the main way to hear is with our ears. So try to hear. This is from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's, maybe you could say introduction, but it's forward or something. Bhagavate Krishna Katha Vyasera Lekaniyata Taramama Vrindavan Majani Sri Chaitanya Bhagavate Bane Anharupa Mate Gaura Krishna Ekakari Mani. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur understood the topics of Krishna described by Srila Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the same way he wrote Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, describing the pastimes of Lord Gaura Hari, who he accepted as non-different from Krishna. Yes. If we can enter into and just let everything go, all of our issues, all the filters, let them open up and just try to hear the subject matter. It has a tremendous effect on our consciousness. Gorara Goravalila Shura Tattva Pakashila Yenataya Dasa Vrindavan Tanhara Padabjatari Anukshana Shirapari Gaudiya Vasyera Sankhalam. The glorious pastimes of Gaura have been revealed by Sri Vrindavan Das, the servant of Lord Nityananda, following in his footsteps and always keeping his lotus feet on my head. I write the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary on Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata Lila Mani Marakata Chaitanya Nitai Katha Sara Shune Saiva Kshana Karne Sahasramokete Varne Grantaraja Mahima Apar. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat is a collection of the jewel-like pastimes of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. One should always hear and chant with thousands of mouths the unsurpassable glorification of the Lord contained in this great book. Shri Bhakti Vinoda Padaya Yatena Shri Bhogakada Shura Bhakti Janhate Pachara Likite Gaudiya Bhashya Rahochite Tavadasya Yachi Prabhu Karuna Tomar. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur preached the process of pure devotional service, and his lotus feet destroy the desire for material enjoyment. While writing this Gaudiya Bhashya commentary, I beg for his mercy. O Prabhu, let the desire for serving you always remain in my heart. Hari Vinodera Asha Bhagavata Vakya Bhasha Kunja Seva Kariva Yatani Bhakata Karuna Halaye Sarva Siddhi Tabi Mile Nahi Rakiyanya Ashamani. By the desire of Lord Hari and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, I am writing this commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. I will attentively serve their lordships in the kunjas. By the mercy of the devotees, one can achieve all perfection. Therefore I do not keep any other desire in my mind. Shuddha Bhakta Murtiman, Shunaye Janhara Khan, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata Gam, Sri Gora Kishoravara, Edasera Guruvara, Sada Kripa Kara Moredana. The pure devotees of the Lord hear and chant this Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sri Gaur Kishoras Babaji is the spiritual master of this servant. I always beg his mercy. Shri Bhasha Bhanavi Devi Ashlishta Daiti Sevi Janacharya Paradagoram Shri Braja Patane Vasi Gandharvi Ke Divanishi Giridhari Seva Paitoram. Shri Bhasha Bhanavi Daita Das, that's Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, desires to serve the beloved Lord of Shri Vrishabhanavi Devi by giving up all offences. O Gandharvika Giridhari, I pray day and night for your service while sitting at Shri Vajrapatana Mayapur. Just a little bit from the, like a Mangalacharana type of presentation, prayers before approaching the text to create the right mood. When we worship Krishna or we hear Shastras, even chanting japa or kirtan, the proper method is to approach the Lord through the media of the pure devotees of the Lord, through the media, and of course in the case of Krishna, through the media of Panchatattva, through the media of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Prabhupada has made this quite clear. We cannot worship Krishna directly. We're not qualified. One has to realize that we're worshipping the Lord, in a sense, at our stage, as an assistant to the pure devotee, on his behalf. So we approach the pure devotees first, and then we approach Lord Chaitanya through Guru and Gauranga. We approach Krishna. Especially when performing any act of devotion, even whatever it may be, especially with kirtan or hearing shastra, etc. This is the process. First Guru, then Gauranga, then Krishna, or Radha Krishna. And here we have nice presentation here, how Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj is falling at the feet of his spiritual masters, begging for their mercy, and all the devotees also, so that he can actually present this commentary, this bhashya on Lord Chaitanya's Leela, in a way which is pleasing, in a way which is effective. Like that. So we'll go on to, where are we now? Yeah, I was reading this morning from Chaitanya Bhagavat about the pastime of Chankasi. Most of us have, if we've been around for a little while, will have heard this pastime. You may have read it, you may have heard it, you may have seen a drama presenting this pastime, or whatever, heard someone speak about it. So this is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. One will see slightly different descriptions, different authors see the same thing as we've been mentioning. You can see the same object from different angles. They're all correct, and they're all presenting a different aspect of the same subject. Slightly different sometimes in the detail, but the principles are the same. We're not going to hear directly about Chankasi and his behavior, nor are we going to hear about the meeting of Lord Chaitanya with Chankasi and whatever followed on from that. We're going to hear, Krishna willing, Prabhupada mercy, we're going to hear a little bit about the incidences in between. In between the time when Chankasi tried to stop the Sankirtan movement, that was the one scene where he personally tried to intervene and stop the performance of Sankirtan, and to a certain extent it was difficult, no doubt. He was sending his men all over the city to stop Sankirtan wherever they found it going on. That sometimes happens even today. And then the final scene, more or less anyway, was when Lord Chaitanya arrived at the Kazi's abode, and then they discussed, and everything was rectified, everything was sorted. But in between, the majority of the pastime takes place. And we're going to take off, I don't know what we're going to come into here exactly, but we're going to enter in here somewhere where when Lord Chaitanya was made aware of the Kazi's tactics to try to stop the performance of congregational chanting, Lord Chaitanya became furious. We shall see what type of Kazi he is, who will stop our Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya ordered everyone to come to his residence, so to speak, and we will go throughout all the streets and markets of Navadvip, performing kirtan, loud kirtan, very loud. So hundreds and thousands of devotees gathered. Nobody knew where they came from. It was like inconceivable. They were all bringing torches with them because it was the evening. It was evening. It was about this time of the year. This pastime took place in the springtime, sometime a little bit before the Holy Festival, which is coming up in maybe less than a month's time. And so something around about this time of the year, this pastime took place. And Lord Chaitanya really began here. Up to this point, there wasn't much mention, at least by Vrindavan Das, of any public kirtan with Lord Chaitanya's presence. Devotees were going, but this is Lord Chaitanya now really begins. It's like Prabhupada said when he was in New York, that his Sankirtan movement really began in Tompkins Square Park. When he himself went with the devotees, they'd gone out a bit here and there, but this is basically when it started. So the nocturnal kirtan was going on in the house of Srivas Thakur and Chandrasekhar Acharya and others at night. But this public kirtan of this nature, at least with Lord Chaitanya, this Sankirtan, congregational chanting in public, Nagar Sankirtan, was going on, but it was being thwarted by the Kazi. So now this is the real beginning of the Nagar Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. So he's gathered all the devotees together, and they're coming from all over. Nobody knows where. It's described even demigods disguise themselves as human beings to take part in this pastime. It came, it's the most incredible pastime. And the revolution, this is like the beginning of the revolution, the Sankirtan revolution. Not just challenging the Kazi, but challenging everything that stands in the way of Sankirtan, be it what it may, be it institutional restrictions, be it our own minds, which are usually the biggest obstacle. Whatever it is, this is the Sankirtan movement. Nothing can stop the Sankirtan movement. We may try to avoid it, we may do what we wish, but unless we enter into the Sankirtan movement, where is our opportunity of entering into Krishna Lila? This is the method, the only method. Is it by this method that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pleased? And without pleasing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's no way that Srimati Radharani is going to open the door. So we have to bear this in mind. Congregational chanting of the holy name is the Yuga Dharma. Krishna Vanam Trisha Krishna Sangopangashtra Parshadam Yagya Sankirtanam Prayer. This is the Yagya for this age of Kali, is the Sankirtan Yagya, the performance of congregational chanting of the holy name, inside, outside, all sites, but congregational chanting. And have to, we can choose to really experience this, to, let's say, drown. Sometimes it says float. It depends which analogy we're using. But to enter into that great ocean, we have to allow it to happen. If we're fighting against it, it will take a long time. If we're trying to speculate on it, it will take a long time. And if we're offending it, it will take goodness knows how long. But if we just let go, even in our humble, feeble attempts to perform congregational chanting, full of imperfections, full of false, whatever, motives maybe, in so many things, inattention, so many, maybe even to some degree offensive, although in the performance of congregational chanting, Jiva Goswami says, offenses are not taken into account, provided we go through Lord Chaitanya first. We have to understand this is the grace of Lord Chaitanya. It is not some privileged right that we have. It's only by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. That mercy is only available through the mercy of his pure devotees. Otherwise, it may be a nice musical rendition, but to actually make that connection with the Lord, this is the process, this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, the mercy of his followers. So, like that, this congregational chanting is the essence. It's the essence. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj elsewhere describes this as the only infallible means of success. The only one. All others are fallible. Jiva Goswami says it. In all forms of devotional service, other limbs, offenses are unfortunately easily performed and taken into account. But in the performance of congregational chanting, he says, they're not. But still, if we want to, it's one thing. But if we actually want to enter into the spiritual kingdom, then we should also understand the proper approach. Proper approach. That which will remove right down to the root all tendencies to want to enjoy this world, all tendencies to see oneself in the center, all tendencies to feel envious or offensive towards anyone or anything, etc. By absorbing ourselves deeply, it's our only hope. He said that activity we perform in devotional practice, which does not awaken our attraction towards congregational chanting, is an impediment on the path of pure devotion, is an obstacle. So, and of course he said this infallible, the only infallible means of success. Congregational chanting he described was the emperor of all sadhana. There are many kings, but there's one emperor. That's congregational chanting. It includes Bhagavad Gita. But chanting the glories of the Lord, this is the emperor of sadhana. And particularly in Kali Yuga, there is no other way. Other activities are there to support the congregational chanting. Temples are there to support the congregational chanting. They are not means in of themselves. They are supports for the congregational chanting. If congregational chanting is not going on in a temple, it's not really a temple. A temple in one sense, but it's not fulfilling the purpose. Congregational chanting is the purpose of our lives and the method to spread Krishna consciousness. So we'll read now a little bit about this congregational chanting of the holy name from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So I'll just read the English side. Time is short. Surrounded by his devotees, who were non-different from him, the son of Sachi began to move forward. As all the devotees we briefly mentioned have come to the residence of Lord Chaitanya, and they are gathered there. when we put Lord Chaitanya, I mean, it's scary sometimes, isn't it? The very idea of being public and what people will think and so on. And particularly when there's harassment, such as that of the Khalsi. They used to have harassment here in Sydney. The devotees were getting arrested all the time, back in the early 70s. Prabhupada said, carry on. If you're put in the prison, just keep chanting. Don't stop. Devotees eventually, particularly a case in Melbourne, the whole thing was overturned, and devotees were then accepted and given more or less permission to chant in the streets. And to this very day, practically speaking, not everywhere, but in most places, this is going on. So Lord Chaitanya is now against the law. He's gathered hundreds and thousands, maybe millions, who knows, of devotees. They've all, so many of them are carrying torches. Lord Chaitanya said, bring torches, musical instruments. So many are gathered. So there's like, the Lord is surrounded in all directions by his devotees. When the Lord moved forward, so that they're moving forward on their Sankirtan, while dancing in ecstasy, everyone chanted the name of Hari and floated in waves of ecstasy. Floating in the waves. Here we see floating, sometimes we hear drowning. Either way, they're in this ocean of Sankirtan, being carried along in the waves of ecstasy. The holy names vibrating. Lord Chaitanya dancing. Pure sound vibration. Carried away by that sound. We are sometimes carried away by mundane sound or mundane objects. Well, this is the counter of that. We should become carried away by the Sankirtan, by the sound of the holy name or by Krishna Katha. Everyone became freed from material suffering and seeing the Lord's beautiful face, and they all joyfully chanted the name Hari. Most people were fixed or focused on the beautiful face of Lord Chaitanya, and their ears on the sound of the holy name, their feet in dancing, their arms upraised, maybe their nose smelling the fragrance of Lord Chaitanya's form. All the senses engaged in this way. The tongue in chanting the holy name. The Lord's beauty defeated that of millions of cupids. There is nothing with which it may be compared. His beauty. Still, by his mercy, I am trying to explain. Otherwise, who is able to describe his beautiful form? Generally, we're very attracted to the reflection forms of this world. If we could become attracted to the beautiful form of Lord Chaitanya, this will counteract and clear our consciousness of the attraction to the beautiful forms or the reflective forms of this world. His effulgent, golden form is the essence of the Vedas. He was decorated with sandalwood paste and appeared like the moon. Sandalwood paste is like the moon, very cooling and very bright, golden, light color. His curling hair was decorated with a garland of jasmine. And the more we can try to sort of like, imagine is not the word, but rather try to see this form within at least our minds. And his sweet smile defeated all artistic expression. His forehead was decorated with sandalwood paste and dots of colored powder. He raised his arms, and the name of Hari emanated from his moon-like face. Talking about colored powders, I don't know if you do the Holi festival in Sydney. Do you do it here? No? Yes? Where? 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 Blacktown. Where in Blacktown? Some field or what? In a field or what? Where?
In the ground field.
Pardon?
In the showground.
Showground, that's good. So it was good. And sometimes this festival has been, somewhat, let's say, played down, or it's simply like sense gratification. Where's this in, our movement? What's it got to do with our mission? Well, we like to see it in a positive way as well. I'm not one for going for Holy Festival, by the way. But we do see the potential. Just now they had the Holy Festival in New Varshana in Auckland. And you may have read or heard about it. 15,000 people came. 15,000. Including the Prime Minister of New Zealand. He was completely covered in dyes. He himself was squirting dyes all over the place. He himself helped cook in the kitchen. He himself, was taking darshan of the deities. He honored prasadam. I mean, it brought thousands of people together. Everyone had the chance to honor prasadam. Everyone heard the holy name. Right here in front of me is Shyamananda Prabhu, and he performed on stage during that festival. He does rapper. He's a rapper, a stage rapper. He performed on the stage, and others also. And everyone had a movement becomes, popular amongst thousands of people. Many took books, and probably loads of other things you can mention. They went to the temple room or whatever. But it certainly gave people who may not normally come, many of them, a wonderful opportunity to feel attracted. They may not have heard much philosophy, if any, but nonetheless, their attraction, preliminary to really digesting the philosophy, there has to be something favorable there. Otherwise, we see it in a challenging mood or some negative mood. Something favorable has to be. Let me see what these people are all about. Something favorable. And not only that, but the other day was the appearance day of Narottam Das Thakur. And we were reading or hearing the other day, and many of you know this, but this holy festival, of course, which was one of Radha and Krishna's favorite festivals, it takes place on Gopurnim Day, although that's being extended. It's already beginning in some places now, especially in Vrindavan. They begin weeks before. But primarily it's on Gopurnim Day, and it's kind of maybe become a little degraded in some ways. But in principle, it's a day where, the Krishna and the gopis, and they're all squirting colored dyes at each other. And the gopas, I suppose. But it's a festival. It's a really joyful festival. And this festival was, amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, basically speaking, was inaugurated by Mother Janava, the consort of Lord Nityananda. At the Keturi festival, organized by Narottam Das and his family, after the installation of the deities, not only did they, offer colored dyes to the deities, she then ordered all the devotees begin the holy festival. And tons of colored powdered dyes came, and everyone was throwing dyes at each other, left, right, and center. So it's not completely a kind of a modern creation of some kind in our movement. It was established by Mother Janava as a part of the installation. And presumably thereon it was a common thing on Gopurnima amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That was, the installation was on Gopurnim Day. So anyway, aside from all of that, here Krishna, it says, dots of colored powder, his face or his forehead. His flower garland that hung down to his knees swung to and fro. Now they're going on Naga Sankirtan through the streets of Navadvip. So this is Lord Chaitanya with his beautiful demeanor and his forehead covered in sandalwood paste and colored dyes and what have you. And his arms long, he raised his arms high in the air, and his face was just so moon-like, full moon-like, beautiful, effulgent moon-like face. Two strong arms, they were like golden pillars, being decorated with hairs standing on end. His body looked like a golden kadamba flower. A very golden flower. Kadamba is like a round, I describe it as like a round ball, golden color. His entire body became wet with the tears flowing from his lotus eyes. His lips were enchanting, and his teeth were beautiful. His eyebrows stretched to the bottom of his ears. His eyebrows. Eyebrows. That's these ones. We were reading yesterday, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying, the day before yesterday, we were discussing the difficulties in, let's just say, overcoming lust. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, meditating on the eyebrows of the Lord, the beautiful eyebrows, is a method to overcome lust. So when we become attracted to those beautiful eyebrows, they act just like bowstrings. The Lord shoots those arrows of devotion or whatever into our hearts, destroying all the lust in our hearts. We're attracted to his beautiful eyebrows. His shoulders defeated those of the king of elephants. His broad chest was decorated with a thin, white Brahmin thread. Lakshmi and Tulsi resided at his lotus feet. He was dressed in supremely pure and fine cloth. His nose was raised, and his lion-like neck was enchanting. His body was taller and more golden than that of anyone else. People in all directions said, "See how the Lord's hair is decorated with various flowers." The crowd was so thick that if a mustard seed was dropped, it would not reach the ground. Incredible. You know, mustard seed, everyone was so bunched up. Sounds like the Paris metro during rush hour, or a Bombay train trying to get out of Bombay. Yes. I remember the last marathon. You were with me that day, Rasika, when we were trying to get on that train?
The last day?
Huh?
The last day.
I think so. And the train came into the station. It was already like a sardine can. You were falling out the doors when the doors opened, practically. You wouldn't believe it. It's a so-called civilized country, Paris. It was this. And some or another, I ran to one of the things. We were on a mad rush because it was the book marathon, so we were trying to get to our spots quickly as we can for distributing books. So some or another, I managed to get. I don't think anyone else managed to get into that train, from our side anyway. Some or another got in with my trolley, book trolley and things. Maybe a book bag and a book trolley. And somehow I squeezed in, and I had one foot on the ground. My trolley was up in the air. It didn't touch the ground. It was like crushed in between people. And we were like sardines. And we got to the next station, we just kind of popped out the door, landed on the station practically. So crowded. So here also in the Sankirtan of Lord Chaitanya, shoulder to shoulder, No movement, even a mustard seed, it says, could not fall to the ground. Yet, by the mercy of the Lord, everyone could happily see the Lord's face. His mystic, amazing, and though everyone was like crushed in amongst us, everyone could still see him. It's not an ordinary event. On seeing the Lord's beautiful face, all the women made auspicious sounds. Can you ladies do that? Who late, whatever it is? Who knows how to do that? Any of you? Come on, let's hear it. No, come on, let's hear it properly. Who can do it? Okay, something like that. Maybe a little bit more sharp than that. Usually it's the elderly Bengali mothers who know how to do this really well. All together they make this incredible piercing sound. But it's a very auspicious sound. And constantly chanted the name of Hari. And it says it here. The word hula huli refers to ulu dvani, a sound Bengali ladies make while vibrating their tongues. Tongues go like this, you know, going like rocket. You can hardly see the tongue. It's kind of going like. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. At every doorstep there were no Bengali ladies here today. No Bengali ladies. No, not so many here. We have lots of them in Paris. At every doorstep there were bunches of bananas, clay pots filled with water, coconuts, and mango twigs. They're very auspicious things. There were most attractive ghee lamps burning in opulent plates filled with yogurt, durva grass, and rice patty. Every doorstep in Nadia was decorated in this way, yet no one knew who had done this. In their ecstasy, the men and women who chanted with the Lord did not know who else was present there. Nobody knew who was present. Everyone was so absorbed, didn't even know who was next to you. And everything's arranged by the mystical power of the Lord, just to fulfill. This is actually the spiritual world here, what you hear, present on this planet. Incredible. The thieves, there were thieves, some thieves were there now. The thieves thought, this is a golden opportunity. Today we will steal from each and every house. Because nobody was in the house. All the houses were empty. Everyone was on the Sankirtan. Great opportunity to steal. Ultimately, the thieves forgot their own plans. And nothing other than the name of Hari was heard from their mouths, so they also were captivated by the sound and what was going on, and they were also swept into the Sankirtan. When we focus our hearts on the essence of Sankirtan, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. This is we're simply trying to assist him in his mission of drowning the world in Sankirtan. We're not doing it. We're just trying to be the assistants to Lord Chaitanya and his followers. And no matter how much we are, we may have 1,000,001 motives. If we put Lord Chaitanya in the center, then they can all be swept away, become insignificant. The entire road was filled with puffed rice and small conch shells. But everyone was in such happiness that no one knew who brought them or who threw them. The nature of the spiritual world isn't like you have to, go to the shop and buy puffed rice and conch shells or whatever else it is, lamps and flowers and coconuts and what have you. On the spiritual realm, just by a sincere desire to bring pleasure to Krishna, automatically everything manifests. It's like a dreamlike state, a transcendental dream. Do not consider these topics as exaggerations. Such things happen wherever Krishna enjoys. That's the essence. If we put that as our center purpose, that let Krishna be happy. Whatever I think, whatever it is. But the only real meaning, the only real purpose is whether Krishna is happy. What will please Krishna? Not what pleases me. What will please Krishna? Our heart should be only that. How I can exist for Krishna's pleasure. Then everything will be adjusted. Unfortunately, we think we are the enjoyers. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that 900,000 jeweled palaces manifested within the blinking of an eye. I think referring to Dwarka. 900,000 palaces. Not just those of the queens, but of many others too. There's a lot of palaces. At that time when the Lord of the Brahmins enjoyed water spots with the Yadavas in that abode of Dwarka, says here, by his sweet will to celebrate his salty ocean, transformed into an ocean of nectar. Yes, that which is very bitter can become very sweet when we put Lord Chaitanya in the center. These confidential topics are described in the Harivansha, therefore do not maintain any doubt in this regard. That same Lord now became overwhelmed in his own kirtan, and all auspiciousness automatically manifest. He also became overwhelmed, caught up in the waves of Sankirtan Prema. As the Lord danced along the bank of the Ganges, everyone in front and behind the Lord chanted the names of Hari. And of course, this is his purpose of coming. He came with these two reasons: to taste internally Krishna Prema, externally, to spread the Sankirtan movement amongst everyone, even the untouchables. And he said, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj says, in this way he wove a wreath, like a garland, of the holy name and Krishna Prema, by which he garlanded the entire material world. So these two are Prem Sankirtan. They go inseparable. This is the purpose of the Sankirtan, is Prema. This is how one can actually enter into Prema, is through absorbing ourselves in the Sankirtan. There's no other way. Advaita Char led his group in the front and danced in great ecstasy as they proceeded along. Next, Haridas, an ocean of happiness in Krishna consciousness, danced beautifully as he proceeded along by the Lord's order. Thereafter, Srinivas, who was full of happiness in Krishna consciousness, that means Srivas Thakur, sometimes known as Srinivas also, danced in the procession. In this way, the devotees danced in the front of the procession. They were each surrounded by a group of singers. This is very much like the Rath Yatra festival. Lord Gaurasundar danced most enchantingly as he followed behind everyone. All the devotees began singing sweetly. Those who never sang before also engaged in singing. So a lot of times people don't sing, they stand there or do something. I saw the kirtan the other day, one person just sat there. Kirtan's going on, they sat cross-legged like this. Don't know what they were doing, but they weren't chanting. Those who never sang before also engaged in singing. Nobody could resist it. Murari, Mukunda Datta, Ramai, Govinda, Vakreshwar and Vasudeva were among the devotees present there. They all danced and sang around the Lord, who continued along in great ecstasy. Nityananda and Gadadhar went along on either side of the Lord. They both floated in the ocean of nectarian ocean of ecstatic love. Nityananda and Gadadhar. As Mahaprabhu danced along the path, millions of people rushed to see him. Light from the millions of burning torches reflected like the moon rays on the bodies of everyone. Millions of large torches burned in the four directions, and millions of people chanted the name of Hari in the 4 directions. Well, imagine the whole of Sydney, basically, all coming together and chanting Hare Krishna. On seeing the Lord's dancing and his wonderful transformations of love, all the people of Nadia became overwhelmed in ecstasy. Sometimes the Lord's entire body became covered with dust. Sometimes his entire body was washed by the tears of his eyes. On seeing the shivering of his body, the perspiration on his body, and the hairs of his body standing on end, even the hearts of the atheists were moved. It was unlimitedly attractive. The entire city of Navadvip was filled with the vibration of Krishna's names. Everyone began to dance and chant the name of Hari. All those fortunate persons danced and sang, Hari, O Ram, Ram, Hari, O Ram, 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 Ram. Ram can mean various personalities. It's not just Ramchandra or Radharaman for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, for the worshippers of Radha Krishna especially. It's just another address of Krishna. At various places along the way, 5 or 10 people would gather together, with some singing, some playing instruments, and some dancing in their midst. Millions of groups danced in ecstasy throughout Navadvip. They sang, Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya, Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Govinda Ram Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Interesting, only two lines are mentioned there. The whole song which we sing quite often is Nam Sankirtan, is compiled by Narottam Das later on. At this time it's understood Lord Chaitanya would sing these 2 lines. He said this is how we perform Sankirtan, chanting these 2 lines. And Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that, especially in Navadvip, Mayapur and Vrindavan, in the kirtans we should sing these 2 lines. He never said the other lines, he just said, he writes anyway, these 2 lines. And it's not Hari Harai, that was Narottam Das's song. Hari Harai, it's different. Here it's Haraye Nama Krishna. That's what Prabhupada said we should sing in kirtan. Haraye Nama Krishna, Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govindaram, Shri Madhusudan. Some people danced alone and some danced and clapped their hands in groups of 5 or 10. Although they held torches and oil pots in their 2 hands, it was most amazing how they simultaneously clapped their hands. And it appeared that Vaikuntha had manifested in Navadvip as all the inhabitants took on the characteristic found in Vaikuntha. All living entities assumed 4 arms, yet being overwhelmed in ecstatic love for Krishna, they did not even notice. That's interesting, huh? They all actually had 4 arms. They were holding torches in one hand, pots in another, and playing cartels. Pretty hard with 2 hands. But here's the answer. They assumed 4 hands. Everyone was in Vaikuntha. They weren't on this earth anymore. They did not notice that they had 4 arms. They even forgot themselves. So how did they clap their hands? In this way, the people of Navadvip enjoyed the happiness of Vaikuntha as they danced along the path near the Ganges. It appeared that the son of Nanda Maharaj had descended with an enchanting flute in his hands and a garland of forest flowers around his neck. While performing kirtan in this way, everyone forgot their bodily characteristics, such as distress and lamentation. This is the secret to become absorbed in the higher taste. Even at their stage of, a very immature stage of performance of Sankirtan, but even then, when we become absorbed in the kirtan, we forget everything else. Tiredness, everything. Some people rolled on the ground, some slapped their limbs. Various words manifested on the tongues of some people. Some said, "Where is that Kazi fellow now? If we find him, we'll tear off his head." Some people ran to catch the atheists, and some punched the ground while uttering the name of an atheist. Who can say how many people played mridungas? Who can say how many people sang in great ecstasy? There was such a downpour of ecstatic love of Godhead all over Nadia that even the inhabitants of Vaikuntha hankered for it. All of Nadia floated in the mellows of the ecstasy that overwhelms Brahma, Ananta and Shiva. The Lord of Vaikuntha danced along the bank of the Ganges with his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Interesting. His servants, yes, easy associate servants. Weapons refers generally to his beautiful form. It could also mean instruments. The earth had never witnessed such ecstasy. The roads in all directions were filled with ecstasy. There was not the slightest misbehavior to be found anywhere. Each of those places became most sanctified. As Lord Gaurasundar danced along, his followers on all sides of him sang, "Let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet, O carrier of the bow, let my mind be fixed at your lotus feet." As the devotees chanted in Lord Chaitanya's first Sankirtan procession, Sri Sachinandan danced. As the devotees performed kirtan with the Lord, they forgot what direction they were going. I know when we go on Harinam, it's more or less the same everywhere, I've noticed. It's like kind of like a clockwork, you know. You start at the same time, same place. You go the same route, even though there's no one there. And you come back the same route, and you go up and you come down and end at the same spot and do the same thing. It's kind of nice, everybody knows more or less what's going on. But it can be varied. There's no law against it. When we were early devotees in this movement, of course, we used to go down Oxford Street. There's only 1 million people every day on Oxford Street, so pretty good in London, pretty good field for chanting. But we would also go to every other direction too. When you're out for 7 or 8 hours, you've got more time on your hands. But you go up and down all the side streets, around the back, some of them very busy, other squares in the city, places, according to the time of the day and night. There's some places, like if you go out at night in London, for instance, at 8 o'clock at night, we might go along Oxford Street, it's quite busy also, but it's nothing compared to Leicester Square or Coventry Square or Piccadilly Square. It's quiet, very quiet. Compared to them, they're packed. Because people go out at night in those places. So see where people are and go there, if you can, that is, where the people are. Vary it. It may not be at the very time you're working people, but various alternatives there according to the time and circumstance. Do the needful. The more a mission is to expose everyone to the Sankirtan, the more we can catch people. It's also interesting, you may not be able to do anything about this one, but we noticed that at different times of the day, different people are on the street. And in different places, like at lunchtime is the busiest time of the day. The best time for Harinam is lunchtime. Most people on the street. And of course in the evening between 5 and 7, it's also very, very busy. People going home, in the city at least. Or in suburbs. Sometimes in suburbs, thousands and thousands of people are coming out the metro at certain times, or going in at certain times. Use a little common sense to go where the people are accumulating, assembling, so they can hear the holy name. Even if you just hear it, even if they don't chant it, they'll become benefited. Even if they just see it, they're benefited. Even if they don't appreciate it, still if they see it, they're benefited. I'll speak if they appreciate it. Now, everyone in Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, and even Vaikuntha became filled with the unlimited happiness of Krishna consciousness. The sound was vibrating throughout the universe. All the demigods, along with their associates, came to see. They all fainted upon seeing the kirtan. They're overwhelmed. Prabhupada said that actually the demigods during kirtan, obviously they come if they're attracted, but they often come to participate unseen by us, or to witness the Sankirtan. Narada Muni especially loves to come. When he sees the mlechas and yavanas dancing and chanting on the streets of Sydney, London, whatever it is, he laughs and laughs and laughs in ecstasy. When the demigods regained consciousness, they took human forms and joined the kirtan. Demigods headed by Brahma, Shiva, Varuna, Kuvera, Indra, Yamaraj and Soma saw those wonderful pastimes manifest spiritual happiness. So they took on human forms to associate with Lord Chaitanya. As the demigods and human beings chanted together, the name of Hari, the light from the big torches, filled the entire sky. There were banana trees, full water pots, rice paddy, durva grass, gilams, mango twigs, each and every doorstep. But who has the ability to describe the opulence of Nadia, which consisted of innumerable towns, houses, raised platforms and markets? Hundreds of millions of people from each caste. What fool would try to estimate the number? Realizing that the Lord would incarnate, the Creator had arranged everything was present there. Even in 100,000 years, I cannot describe the latest vibrations of auspicious sounds and Hari's name. Those who saw the Lord dancing down the road were unable to control their emotions. On seeing such compassion, hearing such crying, even the greatest debauchees fell to the ground weeping. Sri Gaurasundar danced and called out, "Chant! Chant!" His body was decorated with an enchanting flower garland. He wore a Brahmin thread and a dhoti with 3 corners tucked in. The body of the lotus-eyed Lord was covered with dust. Tears of love flowed from his eyes like the currents of the Ganges. The minds of those who saw his face were no longer attracted to the moon. This thin stream of liquid that flowed incessantly from his nose looked like a tiny string of pearls. The Lord's beautiful curly hair was wonderfully bound and attractively decorated with a garland of jasmines. O Lord, please give us the benediction that this pastime may remain in our hearts, birth after birth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That's only a part of this Sankirtan. The Lord's, as it said here, his first Sankirtan party. Others had gone out, but with Lord Chaitanya present, this is the first time. And most Wonderful, beautiful description of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the importance of this congregational chanting and of taking it out into public as much as we can. We're limited, but as much as we can. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? You Sankirtan men, come on. Sankirtan women, come on. Any questions? Lord Chaitanya's movement, huh? Every town and village. My holy name shall be heard and chanted. Every suburb, every village, everywhere. I was reading yesterday when they sent me a letter which Prabhupada had written to Madhavisa Prabhu, Swami. He said in Australia, he said, I want hundreds and thousands of Lord Chaitanya temples all over the country. In Australia, he specifically said Australia. Well, that's every town and village, isn't it? There should be temples of Lord Chaitanya everywhere. All over the country. That's what Prabhupada wrote. It's not limited. So we put limits on it where we haven't quite caught it. We haven't quite understood what is this mission of Lord Chaitanya. Every street there should be a temple. Because in the home there should be a temple. This is a temple. At least more and more homes should have temples of Lord Chaitanya. People are not ready to worship Radha Krishna or even Shyamananda, only serious devotees. But Lord Chaitanya, everyone is eligible. In Africa, when we were in Africa, Prabhupada said that we should distribute Gaura-Nitai deities to everyone. In all the villages, all the black people, everyone should get Gaura-Nitai. You tell them they're like a voodoo. Lucky, or they're like a lucky, whatever. Bring you some luck. You just, every day you just put a flower before them and say Hare Krishna, you'll get good luck. Good luck. Probably Prabhupada called them happy dolls. Happy dolls. Have you ever had these hundreds and thousands distributed these wooden Gaura-Nitai deities? They look like really, they're like pointed features, you know. Wooden, pointed like this. And it's like points. And then we have the happy dolls. In China, they've made these little Gaura-Nitais. To be distributed everywhere. Prabhupada said amongst the public. This is not just, oh Prabhu, you can't have that, you're not a Brahmin. Nonsense. Prabhupada wanted to be given to the black people, you know, in the villages of Africa. This is Lord Chaitanya's mission. It's not ours, it's his. The Vedic principles are useful when they're meant to be applied, but this is not the Sankirtan. This is way above that. Drown the world in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan. Any questions? Come on, what's up? What's happened? No questions? Come on. Oh yeah, at last. A brave hand has gone up. A brave hand. Is there a voice? Yes.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful class. I have a question related to chanting. How can we cultivate taste of chanting within the children's, growing children's?
How can we cultivate what?
The taste of chanting in children's, in kids.
The taste of chanting within children.
Oh, within children. A taste of chanting within children. How can we cultivate, is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Maharaj.
How can we cultivate a taste of chanting in children? I guess the best way is to cultivate it in yourself. Mostly, we're not here to force people. This whole pastime here, there's no force mentioned. People are automatically attracted because it's so attractive. If we're not attracted, how can we expect to convince anyone else to be attracted? And because some people were not. There were mention here of atheists. We don't know. Everyone's an individual. But if a person has a little inkling of devotion, they will become attracted. The main way is we have to take seriously our own devotion, our own cultivation. Not that we try to, Prabhupada gives the example several times that, how can a person who smokes tell his child not to smoke? You can do that. It may work if you're a pious kid or whatever. But, if we're still smoking and we're expecting our children to smoke, then that's kind of hypocritical in many ways. Hypocritical. So try to cultivate that within yourself. As far as the children in general are concerned, then you have to try to, as I was mentioning about the Holy Festival, partly in the beginning, that it draws people together. Just like Prabhupada drew people in the very beginning of our movement together, because many of them were interested in subject matter of chanting anyway, musically speaking or otherwise. They were not children, they were youth mainly. But he especially drew people through very attractive prasadam. You have to make it joyful. You have to make it attractive. It's not. Children naturally need a little bit of more than just philosophy. They're not generally able to digest philosophy or just do it because I tell you. That's not very digestible. It's not at all the method of preaching Krishna consciousness. Especially when we don't command it, we just simply demand it. It doesn't work. Commanding comes automatic when we have a taste. You don't even have to say anything. People feel that energy, and they want it. They're attracted to it. But make nice arrangements. Children, I'm sure you do. Make nice arrangements for the children. So it's not just sit down and chant, sit down and chant, sit down and chant. Why are you not chanting? You should chant. You should come to the temple. Why you not want to come to the temple? It's a good way to make sure they don't chant. And even if they do, so they get you off out of their hair and get a bit of peace for a while, they won't chant afterwards. It's not a forced thing, it's voluntary. But it should be something attractive, part of a very nice party or something. Make it attractive. That is your parents, you should know better than I. What makes attraction, what the children are attracted to. And try to bring in, that's the whole Vedic preaching system, is that the vast majority of people are not automatically devotees. They're just ordinary people, maybe more pious than what we see today, but they'll find themselves in a society where these things are there. There'll be social events, there'll be all kinds of things going on, but just like Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, how did he attract millions of people to Krishna consciousness? One of his main methods was through this diorama exhibits. He introduced it, pretty revolutionary. It doesn't sound very revolutionary now, but it was very revolutionary at the time. And they were big. They weren't just a little room somewhere with a few dioramas. His diorama exhibits covered many square miles. There were tents, there were circuses, there was wrestling arenas, there was all kinds of things going on, arranged by Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj to attract the people. And it was like you go through, when you go into an airport, you go through like this, all the perfumes and the liquors and the cigarettes and the electronics. Eventually you reach the boarding gate. So you go through this whole thing, and you come to the dioramas. There'll be elephants, there'll be circuses, there'll be performances, there'll be magicians, there'll be wrestling, there was wrestling events going on. All kinds of things to capture people's attention. but the essence were the dioramas, that people could see visually the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So you have to see what attracts and bring Krishna into it. It's just a normal way of doing it. You don't tell your child, take this medicine, it's bitter. Come on, bitter medicine, you've got to take it, it's good for you. The child will scream, I've got some very nice juice for you. Please take this nice, very sugary juice. It tastes like sweet strawberry juice or something. And inside is the medicine. You've got to find out how to give the medicine without, making it attractive. And from our side, we have to take this as a serious word from the Lord that we need to become more sincere and more serious in our chanting, if that's what we're talking about. And anything else, I would suggest that the parents get together and discuss these topics amongst yourselves, especially with those who've been experienced more, and see how we can help the children, which are practically their most important duty of all, is to serve the children. So take it seriously, but don't try to force it. Loving relationship and showing a good example and encouraging, not forcing. Anything else? Now hands are starting to go up. Yes, Mati.
Maharaj, thank you so much for a wonderful class.
Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather. Not under the weather, I should be under the blankets. Put it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful class. I was just wondering one thing, that after the golden period is over of this 10,000 years, and the devotees who are not purified enough to go back, and they keep coming back, how will they cope with the worsening effects of Kali Yuga?
Oh, don't worry about that. Try to cope with the situation right now. Try to go back home in this lifetime. Don't worry about 9,000 years down the line. Well, don't forget the Lord Chaitanya will be present in another universe. And if there's nowhere in this universe for the devotees to carry on at that time, you'll find yourself in another universe where, appropriate to one's level of maturity to carry on. If there's nothing in this, you're not going to be abandoned and thrown behind in a kind of a lion's den or something. Unless you want to, unless you're really strong enough to preach there or something. But generally that's not the case, and there's not much preaching, if any, at that time. But the other universes there are. And again, it depends. Some devotees probably said will go to heaven. You've got strong material desires, but you're really kind of trying to be a nice devotee or something. You may not go straight back to Godhead. But he said then from there you go back to Godhead. So maybe different things. Don't worry about it though. You're not going to sort of find. Isn't it bad enough already? How much worse do you want it to get? I think you're already in that stage practically. It'd be just the Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Otherwise, the world around us isn't. It's not like it's. I don't know what it is, but it isn't the best thing you can imagine. Crazy things are going on. That may change. The Lord has his plan. We don't know what it is. He may have a plan, bring it. Prabhupada said it will all collapse or something. I don't know. Maybe this will be the case. Let's see. He said that if we don't preach strongly enough, then there will be war. If our preaching is not strong enough. Like that. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. When you said about always going the same route, even though there's no one there at certain times, would your recommendation be to try and reason with the organisers of the Harinams to try and take different routes, or to just take it upon oneself to form like a smaller
Yeah.
thing?
You have to be rebellious. No, obviously it's something that could be discussed. Obviously we're going to follow what the leader says no matter what, but it should be discussed. A leader is not some autocratic, absolute, person, not machine. A leader is one who serves, one who follows. So he's going to listen. We listen to the public, we don't just listen to the devotees. Sometimes we go ahead with doing things and you have no idea what the public thinks. Even with the books, covers and everything. In France we try to take dummy covers out into public and ask them what they think about it before we print books. Things like that. A leader always takes advice or feedback. A leader is one who can take feedback without any kind of judgmentalism or, smashing the person who gave the feedback. He's not a leader at all. Exploiter. One has to be willing to take feedback, otherwise you cannot lead. You may be forcibly leading or by default or whatever. You have to take feedback. You don't have to follow it, but at least you have to take it in a non-discriminatory way. Anything else? Yes. Prahlad.
You're speaking about Sankirtan today. Sankirtan generally we understand as congregation chanting, we come together and chant, or we go on the street and chant. But Prabhupada explicitly writes that Sankirtan means coming together and chanting, and also reading and discussing philosophy. How is reading and discussing philosophy, Prabhupada calls it Sankirtan? Especially nowadays we have 24 kirtans and this and that, where people just come, chant, and then go home, and there's no reading and chanting, discussing philosophy element to it. So why Prabhupada calls reading and chanting along with singing as Sankirtan?
Yeah. Well, it was sideline mentioned earlier on that having the right concept in the performance of Sankirtan, and that definitely comes from hearing and chanting the philosophy from the right source. And it's not that everyone will have that immediately, but those who are leading or those who are organizing whatever, maybe not organizing, but those who are leading this, those who are actually leaders. The difference between a leader and an organizer is a difference between a leader and an administrator. There's a difference between a leader and a follower. So the leader should have the right conception, and naturally that will grow and develop in those who follow. And it will also include, it's a whole package deal, of course. We also mentioned that Sankirtan includes Krishna Katha, hearing the subject matter. That was mentioned earlier too. It's not just chanting the holy name per se, or the mantra or whatever, but it includes hearing Krishna Katha, which means hearing Gita, it means hearing Bhagavatam from the right source. So yes, so Sankirtan has to be performed with the right conception, the right attitude. We have to know the purpose behind it, so that we hear in terms of what you're saying, in terms of in the right association of hearing and chanting the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It's essential. It's essential. Whether everyone, and Prabhupada writes, not everybody is going to be attracted, but certainly the leaders must not just be attracted, they must be enlightened in the subject to share it with the people in a way which is digestible. Whether it's through the songs like Narottam Das did, because people are not philosophical, therefore he presented the same philosophy for the people in general. Studying of philosophy and whatever like that, and Sangha, etc., is especially for the leaders of society, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, maybe the Vaishyas, but not generally for the Shudras. But they hear that it's the relevant subject to help them to advance in Krishna consciousness. And they would hear, like Narottam or Lochan Das and others, they compiled the philosophy in songs, and people would simply sing the songs. This is, again, finding an appropriate means, digestible means for the people to get the right understanding. They may not be able to teach it, they may not be able to convince others, but at least they can apply it in their lives. The chanting of the holy name with the right understanding. It's not to go to heaven or to go to the Brahman. It's not to get freed of sinful reactions. All these things may be mentioned, but to actually understand the ultimate purpose behind it, eventually. What is the purpose? What is the holy name? A lot of people have very little idea. maybe a nice song to some people, maybe another mantra to others, karma candy mantra to others, whatever it may be, the right conception that we have to hear the philosophy. And if we're not inclined to hear the philosophy, which some people are not, Prabhupada said, but at least we should be in a society where that's understood. It's the same in Kirtan. How many of us are chanting pure Nam? There's very few, I mean maybe more, I don't know. I'm not one of them, so I can't say. But those who are chanting pure Nam, if they're actually leading the Kirtan, everyone will progress towards pure Nam, Shuddha Nam. At the center, it's like a whirlwind effect, drawing everyone in. So whether it's chanting the holy name or understanding or absorption in Bhagavad Gita is the same thing. As we mentioned several times, either Krishna Katha or Nam Sankirtan. But the principle, and Sankirtan, by the way, doesn't exclude deity worship, it does not exclude families, it doesn't exclude every other activity that one may perform, prayer, remembering, whatever it may be. They're all part of Sankirtan if they're focused on, let's say, embellishing or supporting the congregational chanting of the holy name. They're all part of Sankirtan. It's like in a war, everything is there. You know, even the lady in the factory making the bullets, which is what they were doing in the Second World War. All the ladies started work. That's how ladies started working mostly, was during the war, because all the men were on the battlefield. So the factories then were filled up with ladies doing those things. And after the Second World War, ladies continued to work. But previously to that in the West, ladies didn't work much, not in factories anyway. But it became a common thing after the Second World War, particularly after the Second World War. So, but everyone's a part of the war, whether you're a farmer producing the food, you know, but you don't win a war with farmers. They're supporting the battlefield, the frontliners, they're supporting the army, the Navy, the Air Force, whatever it is. By providing the food, the people making the clothes, the people with the transport, the people with the arms themselves, the bullets, the guns, the this, the that. Everyone has a part to play. It's all part of the war. But the main thing is obviously the soldiers. You can't win a war unless you have some, you know, nowadays maybe different types of wars are going on, but traditionally you had to have soldiers, you had to have, you know, people fighting. That was the main thing. The army. You know, somebody declares war on someone else and they say, don't worry, we've got 10,000 farmers, we'll win the war easily. What are they going to do, go with their pitchforks or something? They do sometimes, but it doesn't stand up to much. I was just reading the other day how, you know, even here in Rouse Hill is famous for some kind of uprising of the Italian migrants who were under arrest or something, I don't know what they were. And they had an uprising against the British. There was a small band of British armed guards and maybe 300 or 400 of these people revolting, and they just wiped them all out without any loss because they had guns. And the others just had sticks and stones and things like that. They had no hope. So it's nice. I mean, everything's good. You may be attracted to different parts of the Sankirtan movement, but we should understand it in relationship with Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, not separately. It's a part, supportative part, or whatever it may be. Maybe we'd perform that activity even more purely than anyone else. That's wonderful. But still we should have the right understanding of its relationship with the congregational chanting, which is the essence. Kirtan is their life and soul. And that does include hearing Bhagavatam, hearing Gita, philosophy and so on. And philosophy is not just armchair philosophy, it's that which is relevant to the people. That which they can put into practice to make the changes which are required to one's consciousness. Otherwise one will have the wrong concept. One will become proud, one will be envious, one will be sensual, whatever it is, one will be, you know, offensive, one will be angry, even though you know the philosophy. All these other things can be there, self-centered, you name it. You know, looking down on others. So many things without that right understanding. So what is right for one may not be right for the other. So it's like that, the philosophy is in the wrong hands can be totally misused. And it's the most common obstacle, you could say, in many ways, one of the most common obstacles. Extracting something out of the scriptures to satisfy our imperfect idea. And so it has to be, a vast majority of people, it's like you don't, in the Bible it says don't cast your pearls before swine. It's a pretty gross example. And you don't give a child knowledge beyond their ability to receive it. So philosophy is actually meant like that. It's not just a free for all and everyone dabbles into it and gives their own impression based upon their completely mundane perception. And speculating on it and offending people over it and so on. It's a fine line, it's a difficult one. Prabhupada was first and foremost trying to develop a society of Brahmins who would be able to understand the proper usage or the proper purpose of various shastric directions. But unless one has that Brahminical outlook, it's very difficult to ascertain. One sees it from a narrow point of view. Brahmins' first quality is broad-minded. They're supposed to see things from a very broad perspective, past, present, and future. That's very rare. So naturally there's going to be a few hiccups, as they say, in the present moment, in this regards, on all levels practically. But the holy name goes on. When it comes to Shastra, there's all kinds of different grabbing this, grabbing that. Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, and this means this means that. We don't read beyond the 10th canto. So many speculations come in. So many. We don't read anyone else's books. It's like Prabhupada, otherwise you're a demon. All these type of things come in. Because we're limited, and we're only seeing according to our limited vision. But the chanting of the holy name, this is what brings unity amongst people. What brings unity. Everyone come together and just let go, sing and dance. This brings the unity. It cleanses the heart of these misconceptions also. Anything else?
What's the symptom of one who is attracted to the holy name?
What?
What are the symptoms?
One is attracted to the holy name. What are the symptoms of a boy who's attracted to a girl or a girl to a boy? What are the symptoms? Don't get too vivid, but more or less, what are the symptoms?
Always want to look for the other person.
Yeah, they're always thinking of the other person. They're always waiting for an opportunity to associate with the other person. And they're always thinking what to do to please the other person. They're dreaming of the other person. They're going mad, aren't they? Practically, in fear. They're always afraid they're going to lose the other person. So many, you know better than I. I'm not a very good example. But, it's there. So what are the symptoms one is actually attracted to the holy name? He's mad for the holy name. Whenever they're in the bathroom, the kirtan starts, they want to jump out with their gumcha and run in there, That's a bit extreme, doesn't it? You dream of the holy name, you think of the holy name, you always want to chant the holy name. Satatam kirtiyantam amyatantas charidavata. They always want to chant, they always want that. Now, of course, there's many things there too. They may be planning how to spread the holy name. So they may not always be chanting directly, but they're thinking how to engage others in the holy name. How to facilitate the temple in such a way as that people chant more. The devotees chant more, the people chant more. They may be thinking like that. They may be working very hard to support it. But their motive is to spread the holy name, to serve the holy name. They want to please the holy name. Okay, then on the other side, you want to please that. You know that if you want that person, you've got to please them. They're not only existing just for you to enjoy them. That you may have, but that's not going to last. If it's a genuine relationship, you're thinking of how to please them. So you're going to think how to please the holy name. So you have to take into account things like the 10 offenses and so on and so forth. One is attracted to the holy name. Well, we know they'll have like a breakdown if they commit one of the 10 offenses. It's like they'll be so repentant. They'll feel awful if they think of anything offensive towards a Vaishnava, anything offensive towards the holy name or the scriptures, anything like that. The 10 offenses are there. Even if a material thought comes in their mind, they'll spit at the thought. They can't stand it. It's like, oh, no. And they'll be begging for the mercy of the holy name. We may not be on that level. You know, probably we're, you know, not taking it so seriously like that. Because we don't have that strong attachment. Therefore, Prabhupada has given us so. Prabhupada said one time, I think Prabhupada mentioned it the other day, I've heard it before. I heard it directly from Shyamananda Prabhu also. That Prabhupada said that, if you could just chant all the time. Well, we can't chant all the time. We're not on that level. Therefore, Prabhupada has given us so many services to do to keep us engaged, which are all related to assisting the propagation of the holy name, the glorification of the holy name, form, pastimes, and so on. We can't. We're not on that level of, we don't have that burning taste. We're attracted to so many things. So to try to purify those attractions, or the objects of those attractions, so gradually we become more and more attracted to Krishna, not just Krishna's energies. One who's madly in love with someone, they don't care about public opinion, they don't care about their health, in terms of stopping them in their relationship, that is. And they don't care about, all the things that most people would care about. Who won the World Cup, they don't care less. Who's the Prime Minister or President, it doesn't mean anything, you're just mad in love with someone. So we're probably not quite on that level for the holy name. At least I'm not. But, we can understand. So by associating with those who are, that's how the attraction develops. Krishna talks about Arjuna asked the question to Krishna in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what are the symptoms of those who are transcendental? So he gives the symptoms. But even that one has to hear and understand from a pure devotee. How do they sit? I mean, what does that mean? They sit straight with their back upright or legs crossed? No, that's not what it means. One has to understand it in a deeper way as well. A pure devotee of the Lord, one who's in love with the holy name, is not like a madman in terms of a material madman, although there can be some comparison given. But it's a little different. It's love, pure love, unadulterated, unmotivated, uninterrupted love, which is the inherent characteristic of all living entities. It's within the soul. It's awoken by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord. And that's another symptom of a pure devotee. They're able to awaken that in others. They're like touchstone. In their association, I've given the example, perhaps in many times, maybe you've heard it, maybe you've experienced it, but simple example. There was one wonderful devotee, follower of Srila Prabhupada, was not directly initiated, but was a follower of Prabhupada. His name was Mahavishnu Goswami, a Gujarati sannyasi, who was madly in love with Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, is full of the holy names of Krishna anyway. So when you recite Bhagavatam, you're reciting, that's Nam Seva also. So he was mad for Bhagavatam. Practically nothing would come out of his mouth except for Srimad Bhagavatam, or words which help one to become attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, getting your house together and so on. Making a more favorable environment to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And when you associate with persons like that, you become attracted to hear Bhagavatam. It has a magnetic or, kind of almost like, just now, I think she's gone now, Lakshmi Priya Prabhu. Mataji was telling me how her mother's in the hospital, and unfortunately someone in the hospital on the ward had COVID, and everyone got COVID. It acts like a plague or something, Someone's got it, and you get it too. It's like that, So someone's actually got a taste. If you associate with them, you're not going to be able to associate with them for long if you're not willing to also be exposed to that. The taste will develop in us also by association. Anything else? Last one. Yes,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna Maharaj. My question is Kirtanam and Sankirtanam are the same or they're different?
Is what?
Is Kirtanam
Kirtan
and
and Sankirtan.
Sankirtanam, are they the same or any difference?
Yes and no. Like everything on the transcendental is simultaneously one and different. Oneness in the fact that both of them are directly, of course, for the pleasure of Krishna. But if we look at it from a definitive point of view, Kirtan simply means glorification of the Lord. Sankirtanam can also mean the same thing, depending on how the definition we use. If we're using the definition of congregational chanting, then you can see a distinct difference. If we're using the definition of complete kirtan, they may be the same, they may not be the same. So normally we use the word Sankirtan to mean congregational chanting. It doesn't have to be, but normally that's what the case is. So this different. Kirtan you do on your own. Our japa is also kirtan, by the way. There are 3 types of japa, vachika and manisika and upamsu. So our japa is generally speaking vachika, which in strict definition is oral, you can hear it, which comes under the category of kirtan. Verbal glorification of the Lord. So, that's your own. You can sing on your own also. When it comes with a group of devotees chanting together, it's generally termed as Sankirtan. If we use the definition, or we look at the definition in terms of, let's say, I don't know the word to use, but Sankirtan means complete absorption also. All of our limbs, our mind, our eyes, our nose, our ears, our body, everything engaged in kirtan. So that's also Sankirtan. And that generally includes dancing and musical instruments and everything else also is inclusive in that. We call it kirtan standards, but it's more Sankirtan standards. Kirtan may refer to japa or chanting alone, which is fine. Not that there's there's no kind of conflict of interest there in any way, but strictly the standards of Sankirtan are mostly related to, chanting in public or in the temple or something like that, with others present. They can also refer to chanting on your own, obviously, but mostly it's to address the public or the greater body of devotees. I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay. Anything else?
Maharaj, just a quick question.
Okay.
You talked about how when Chankasi was trying to stop the Sankirtan, Chaitanya Prabhu went along in a protest. Currently, we have a situation where we get complaints from the neighbors in the temple. So we have to restrict Kirtan not past 8 p.m. So is there
Who are these atheists who are restricting the kirtan? Who are these atheists? These Prashandis who are restricting the kirtan. You should follow Lord Chaitanya's example and organize a civil disobedience movement. Gather thousands of devotees in, what's the street called? What's it called? Huh?
Falcon Street.
Huh?
Falcon Street.
Falcon. Thousands of devotees get lamps and do thundering kirtan throughout the night. Okay? That will solve the problem. Okay, anything more to your question? Don't worry, I'm not finishing there. So
the thing is like we from management have to put a restriction, so is it
Yeah,
disservice to the community of devotees? Or
no, not at all. What's the purpose of putting a restriction? That's the question. The purpose behind things has to be taken into account. The motive. What's your motive? Are you against Sankirtan or what?
No.
No, okay, so that's one thing. So what is your purpose?
I think it's more to have a good relationship with the neighbors because we want to stay here for a long time.
Okay. So, because that's probably a bigger subject than just that, because in a good relationship with the neighbors, I mean, how far you're going to take that, I don't know. It's probably made more with getting to know them, but maybe there are transient neighbors, I don't know. getting to know the neighbors, discussing with them, making friends with the neighbors. There's probably a little bit more could be done. I don't know. I'm not here, so I have no idea. But some kind of relationship could possibly be improved, because that can go on and on and on. I mean, Prabhupada cites the example when spiritual masters' disciples were in Burma, that they were being kicked out just because they were cooking in ghee. And local people couldn't stand the smell of ghee. They couldn't stand the smell of incense. We heard that many times. People complain about the incense. They complain about the parking. They complain about everything, practically speaking, because they only want it the way they want it, So, we try to overcome that as much as we can and adjust. You're lucky, at least you can have kirtan in our preaching centre in Paris. We can't have any kirtan over a very gentle kirtan any time of the day or night. The neighbours will call the police immediately. So it does, and Prabhupada, to some extent, of course, did adjust these things in different places. But you've got another reason too. Obviously you're trying to go ahead with your renovations and rebuild of the temple there in Sydney, in North Sydney. So that's also another reason. It won't be very good if there's a whole neighbourship kind of campaign against it. That's obviously stupid. So from that point of view, you do have to bear that in mind. I'll give an example. In 1970, one of the reasons we had so much problem at the manor with the neighbours, that it went up to the Parliament of the United Kingdom. We almost got kicked out or stopped from our worship at the manor. One of the reasons was certain devotees took it upon themselves to shower their mercy on the villagers at 5 o'clock in the morning by going into the village and loudly calling out the holy name. Yes, this was going on in the early 70s. Where certain devotees would go in the village on not a kirtan walk, I wouldn't call it a japa walk. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, wake up sleeping souls. You're sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. That was their mentality. The neighbours didn't appreciate it, to say the least. And many of them became inimical towards us as a result. We had a bit common sense. Everything has to be done with common sense. Time, place, and circumstance. Try to find a way around it. I don't know. I mean, maybe somewhere or another. I don't know, what the details of this are. I thought the temple was soundproofed. I'm not sure. I thought it was. But I don't know. Some of we soundproofed the room in several temples as fully soundproofed. I don't know how effective it was, but as far as I know, it's effective. So you can have kirtan without disturbing the neighbours when they're watching their movie or whatever they're doing. Trying to sleep, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're trying to sleep. And what can you do? I mean, people are, no matter what you do, people are disturbed, and you can complain about the neighbours. You're disturbed because they've got a cat. You know what I mean? How far do you go with it? Of course, that's not illegal to have a cat. And it's not illegal. I don't know what is legal and what's not illegal. We don't want to disturb them if it's going to create any kind of impediment to the endeavour to rebuild, if that's the decision of the management to rebuild the temple. That's the objective in a sense. But it should be, without being involved, I wouldn't know, but somehow or another try to find a way that kirtan goes on without causing a disturbance to the neighbours, that's all. Try to see a way around it without disturbing them. I'm sure it's not just the kirtan that disturbs them. Be considerate. If it's something else, be considerate of what that something else is and try to adjust to something else. Try to find a way to remove that which disturbs the neighbours. We don't want to, the kirtans for the pleasure of Radha Gopinath is, that's why we're there. There's no much point to the temple. The purpose is to please them. So we want to try to keep that going if we can, but remove that which disturbs the neighbours is the best approach, if possible. I don't know how they're all linked up. Anyway, I'll get into the details. That's an internal thing. I'm not involved in the management. Not my business. But sometimes you do, you have to, adjust things. Prabhupada had to adjust even at the United Nations building. They went for the peace rally in 1966 at the United Nations building in New York. And Prabhupada, everyone went there, would have a roaring kirtan, and they said, no, this is a silent protest. No sound. No, Prabhupada adjusted. They just sat there chanting quiet japa the whole way through. They still chanted. They just chanted quiet japa. I'm sure you don't have to go that far. But sometimes Prabhupada did like that. I'm sure there are many examples of that. In order to achieve a higher purpose or another purpose, whatever you call it. Do the needful. And everyone should be cooperative if that's what the decision is. Everyone should do their best to cooperate. At the same time, everyone should try to see how the kirtan can be facilitated without the complaints from the neighbor or neighbors. I mean, the devotees should have bought all the buildings around about the temple. You won't have any problems. That's the solution to that. You're buying $1 million house here and there and everywhere, or $2 million. You should have bought all the houses around the temple. And Prabhupada wanted that, by the way. That's one of Prabhupada's desires. We have urban communities or communities of devotees living right around the temple. That's the system. I know you are living near the temple. I don't know if anyone else is. But that's what Prabhupada wanted. We may not be able or willing to do that. But that's what he wanted. Then the complaints are not there. You may satisfy the present neighbor, then next week he moves out and someone else comes in. And in some places they're doing that. They're buying the property. Dallas, they bought practically most of the street is owned by devotees, or at least by the temple. In Los Angeles also the same thing. Many of the houses and apartments are owned by the temple or by individual devotees. That's like another step. All right, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Radha Govinda ji ki, Shri Shri Gaunitai ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki, Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.